Hi, I'm Juliet. After 5 years of eating ramen and working overtime at the marketing firm, I finally saved enough for a down payment on a house. Not just any house, my dream house with the blue door and bay windows on Maple Street. You won't believe what just happened! I practically shouted, bursting into the break room where my colleague Zoe was microwaving her lunch. What? Did Chad from accounting finally ask you out? Better! I just signed the papers on my house. It's officially mine. Zoe squealed and hugged me. The blue one! That's amazing! When are you telling your family? Tonight at dinner, I can't wait to see their faces. Truth is, my parents, Martha and Richard, had been pestering me about settling down for years. I figured buying a house would finally get them off my back about being 30 and still renting. They're going to flip. Especially your brother. Isn't he still living in that tiny apartment with his wife? Yeah, Eric and Vanessa are always complaining about needing more space for their future kids. Maybe my independence will inspire them. That evening, I arrived at my parents' house with a bottle of champagne. Martha was in the kitchen making her famous pot roast, while Richard watched basketball in the living room. There she is! My little girl finally made it to family dinner? Richard called out without looking away from the TV. I brought something to celebrate. I held up the champagne bottle, grinning. What's the occasion? Martha asked, wiping her hands on her apron. Let's wait for Eric and Vanessa. I want everyone to hear at once. When my brother and his wife arrived 20 minutes later, we sat down for dinner. Eric immediately launched into a story about his boss while Vanessa nodded along, occasionally adding details. So, Juliet, what's this big news? Martha asked when there was finally a pause. I took a deep breath. I bought a house. The silence that followed wasn't the excited pause I expected. Eric and Vanessa exchanged looks while my parents froze. Which house? Richard asked slowly. The Victorian on Maple Street, the one with the blue door. I've been saving for years and... That's impossible, Vanessa interrupted, her face flushing. That's our house. What? No, I just signed the papers this morning. Martha put down her fork. Juliet, that's the house we were going to help Eric and Vanessa buy. We've been talking about it for months. You never mentioned it to me. We didn't think we needed to, Richard said. It wasn't relevant to you. Not relevant? I've been talking about that house for years. Eric leaned forward. Look, sis, we need that house. We're starting a family soon. You'll have to sell it to them, Martha stated, like it was already decided. At a discount, Richard added. They can't afford market price. I stared at them in disbelief. You want me to sell my house that I worked for years to buy? At a discount? It's the right thing to do, Martha insisted. Family comes first. And I'm not family? I asked, feeling my blood pressure rising. Vanessa reached across the table. Of course you are, but you're just one person. We need the space more. I looked around the table at their expectant faces. They weren't asking, they were demanding. Like my dreams didn't matter compared to my brother's. No, I said simply. The house is mine. I signed the papers. It's done. The explosion that followed would have put a volcano to shame. You're being incredibly selfish right now, Eric shouted as I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. I'm selfish? You're the ones demanding I give up my house. The next morning, my phone buzzed nonstop with texts from Eric and Vanessa. They'd already picked out paint colors and wanted to discuss moving timelines. At work, Zoe found me stress-eating vending machine cookies. They're relentless. Vanessa just texted asking if I want to keep any of the appliances when I move out. My phone rang. It was Dana, my real estate agent. Your brother just called me asking about the closing costs and your mortgage details. I didn't share anything, but I wanted to let you know. How did he get your number? He said your parents gave it to him, along with copies of your pre-approval letter. They what? This isn't the first time they've interfered. Remember that condo you looked at last year? Your mom called me afterward saying you weren't really interested and I shouldn't waste time showing you more properties. I felt sick. After hanging up, I drove straight to my bank. Sure enough, someone had requested my account statements recently. using my mother's maiden name as the security answer. That weekend, my cousin Tina called. "Is it true you stole Eric's house? Aunt Martha said you swooped in and bought it knowing they wanted it for their family." That's absolutely not what happened. Well, everyone's talking about it. Uncle Richard sent an email to the whole family. I drove to my parents' house, finding Eric's car already in the driveway. Inside, they were sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by papers. "What's going on here?" They jumped like guilty teenagers. Vanessa quickly gathered the papers, but not before I caught a glimpse of "Final Notice," stamped in red. I snatched one paper, a credit card statement showing Eric and Vanessa were $47,000 in debt. "Is this why you need my house? You're drowning in debt?" I grabbed more papers, car loans, missed mortgage payments on a rental property. "You two are financial disasters, and you expect me to clean up your mess?" Martha put her arm around Eric. "Your brother needs help. It's our job as family to help him. And what about helping me?" Richard sighed. "Juliet, your brother has always needed more support. He has Vanessa, they're starting a family. So I matter less because I'm single? Because I'm responsible with my money?" "No one's saying that," Martha insisted. "You don't have to say it. You've been showing me my entire life." "Dramatic? You've been the golden child since we were kids. My dance recitals missed for your baseball games. My college fund borrowed for your business venture that failed. And now my house?" Richard stood up. "That's enough. Your brother needs this more than you do. End of discussion." I stormed out of my parents' house, tears blurring my vision as I drove away. This wasn't just about a house anymore. It was about years of being treated like I didn't matter. The next day at work, I paced around Zoe's cubicle. "They're telling everyone I stole the house. My own parents are making me look like the bad guy." Zoe spun in her chair. "You need to fight back, smart, not angry." "How? They've got the whole family against me." "Document everything. Screenshots, recordings, emails, build your case." I nodded slowly. "I could expose them at the family reunion next weekend." "Exactly, but you need backup." My phone rang. It was my Uncle Paul, my dad's brother. "Juliet, I got Richard's email about the house situation. Something doesn't add up." "Uncle Paul? You don't believe them? Your father has always favored Eric, but this seems extreme even for him. Can we meet?" Over coffee that afternoon, I told Uncle Paul everything. I knew it. Richard and Martha have been enabling Eric for years. He even asked me for a loan last month. "What for?" "Wouldn't say exactly. Just temporary financial difficulties." I refused. "Will you help me, Uncle Paul? I need someone they'll listen to." "Count me in. What's the plan?" For the next week, I documented everything. Screenshots of Vanessa's demanding texts, recordings of Eric's threatening voicemails, copies of the bank access forms with my mother's signature. Zoe helped me organize everything into a presentation. "Make sure you get Uncle Paul to invite everyone. They might not show if it comes from you." The day before the reunion, I visited Dana again. "I need to know if there's anything else my parents have done regarding my house purchase." Dana hesitated. "Well, there is one thing. Remember those backup offers you had? The notification letters were sent to your parents' address since that's what you listed initially." "Did they respond?" "That's just it. None of the potential buyers ever heard back. I assumed you weren't interested." I felt sick. "They've been hiding my mail. I can print copies of all the correspondence if you need it." Saturday arrived. I got to my parents' house early, setting up my laptop in the living room. Uncle Paul arrived next, giving me a supportive nod. As everyone filtered in, aunts, uncles, cousins, Martha kept shooting me suspicious glances. "What's with the computer, Juliet?" Eric asked, Vanessa clinging to his arm. "Just a little presentation about the house." "We already settled this," Richard growled. "Actually, we didn't. Uncle Paul, would you mind closing the door?" Once everyone was seated, I stood up. "I've been accused of stealing a house from Eric and Vanessa. That's a lie. Here's what really happened." I clicked through the evidence. The hidden mail, the unauthorized access to my financial records. The massive debt Eric and Vanessa were hiding. They don't want my house because they're starting a family. They want it because they're drowning in debt and see my property as their bailout. Eric jumped up. She's lying! Tell them, Mom! Martha turned pale as I played a recording of her admitting to accessing my bank records. You recorded me? That's illegal, she sputtered. Actually, it's not in our state, Uncle Paul said calmly. The room erupted into chaos as the truth sank in. Aunt Diane stood up, pointing at Eric. So you've been lying to everyone about your finances while trying to steal your sister's house? It's not stealing if she shouldn't have bought it in the first place, Vanessa snapped, her face red. My cousin Mike scrolled through the evidence on his phone. Wait, isn't this the same rental property you told your boss you were managing successfully to get that promotion? Eric's face went pale. That's private information. Not anymore, Uncle Paul said, holding up more papers. And there's more. Richard and Martha have been funneling money to Eric for years, including from the family trust that was supposed to be divided equally. Martha lunged for the papers. That's none of your business, Paul. It is when you're stealing from your own daughter. My Aunt Carol put her arm around me. I'm so sorry, Juliet. We had no idea. I've been the family scapegoat for years while they painted Eric as the golden child. Richard stood up, trying to regain control. Now wait just a minute. Everything we did was to help our children. Juliet can take care of herself, but Eric needs to grow up and face consequences for once, I interrupted. And so do you. 3 days later, Eric called me in tears. My boss put me on leave pending an investigation. They're saying I misrepresented my financial management experience. That's not my problem. Please, Juliet. I'm sorry, okay? We were desperate. Desperate enough to try to steal my house and ruin my reputation? Too little, too late, Eric. I hung up as Zoe arrived with paint samples for my new living room. Your mom called the office looking for you, she said, setting down coffee cups. Receptionist said you were busy, indefinitely. Good. I've blocked their numbers, but they keep finding ways to reach me. The doorbell rang. It was Uncle Paul. Just dropped by to let you know. The country club revoked your parents' membership after Carol's husband told everyone what happened. And that charity board your mom was so proud of joining? They asked her to step down. I never wanted to destroy their lives. You didn't. They did this to themselves. A week later, Martha showed up on my doorstep with a teary apology. We were wrong, Juliet. Can't you forgive us? We're family. Family doesn't manipulate and exploit each other. I'm done being your backup plan when Eric fails. But no, I'm setting boundaries. Don't contact me, don't spread lies about me, and don't ever try to access my personal information again. 2 months later, my house was finally ready for a proper housewarming. Zoe helped hang string lights in the backyard, while Uncle Paul and his wife Teresa set up the grill. You've done amazing things with this place, Tina said, having come around after seeing the evidence. It feels like home now. My phone buzzed with a text from Dana. Just heard Eric and Vanessa are selling their rental property at a loss. Karma. As my real friends gathered in my backyard, laughing and celebrating, I caught Uncle Paul raising his glass toward me. To Juliet, who taught us all that standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. I smiled, finally at peace in the home I'd earned, surrounded by people who actually cared about my happiness instead of what they could take from me. So here's my question for you. At what point is it justified to cut toxic family members out of your life completely? Was Juliet right to reject her mother's tearful apology, or should family always get second chances no matter what they've done? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your experiences with family boundaries and what you would have done in Juliet's situation. If you enjoyed this story of justice and standing up for yourself, please hit that like button and subscribe for more revenge stories just like this one. New videos every week where the good guys finally win.